Smalls. All right, we're live. Let me just wait for a couple minute for folks to trickle in on this Monday, 23rd, right here in the United Corporations of America, as Christian Smalls knows too well. That's where we're living. Everybody press that like button right under the live stream. Delighted to be joined by Christian Smalls, who was an Amazon worker who, right at the beginning of this pandemic, was basically fired for the crime of trying to fight back against Amazon's unsafe working conditions, particularly during the pandemic. How you been doing, Christian?
Busy. Yeah, I've been out here still. 8 months later, we still out here fighting. So it's been a lot.
And I wanted to have you on today because there's this crazy story out of Amazon and Europe in specific. And honestly, I kind of think a lot of this stuff is going on in America anyway, as you know. But for those of you who haven't read it, let me just show people what I'm talking about here. It's from Vice, and it is titled uh, Secret Amazon Reports Expose the Company's Surveillance of Labor and Environmental Groups. This is specifically in Europe. I'll read you just a little bit. A trove of more than 24 internal Amazon reports reveal in stark detail the company's obsessive monitoring of organized labor and social and environmental movements in Europe, particularly during Amazon's peak seasons between Black Friday and Christmas coming up. The reports obtained by Motherboard were written in 2019 by Amazon intelligence analysts who work for global security operations, the company's security division. Documents show Amazon analysts closely monitor the labor and union organizing activity of their workers throughout Europe, um, as well as environmental and social justice groups on Facebook and Instagram. They also reveal an Amazon spokesperson confirmed that Amazon has hired Pinkerton operatives, the notorious spy agency known for its anti union busting activities, to gather intelligence on warehouse workers. So, again, we should say this is in Europe, but pretty sure it's transferable to America based on the things that have been reported already. Christian, based on your experience, what were your thoughts reading about, CIA level surveillance of Amazon workers in Europe?
Um, yeah, this is worldwide. Europe is doing kudos to Europe because they're really going after this company. They got them in trial for the antitrust hearing right now, facing a $28 billion fine, as they should. 10% is only $28 billion to Jeff Bezos. That's pretty much nothing. But they're doing a better job over there than they are in the States. And I'm not surprised at all. This company obviously has the CIA surveillance capability. They censor a lot of the stuff that I even put on my own Twitter page. So I'm pretty sure they've been watching a lot of these organizations over here in the States as well, just as much as they're doing over there in Europe. I'm not surprised. I'm more disgusted than anything.
And the thing that to me is most troubling is it's kind of like for if there is talks of like a general strike or how do we organize this and that, but essentially, the in the 1950s and 60s you had strong labor unions, partly because of the numbers, but also because the bosses couldn't know every single step of what you were doing, and they couldn't they didn't know your strategy fully. They might not know exactly when you were going to strike, those kind of things. But this is kind of like basically cutting it off at the head, even before
Yeah, yeah,
and organized labor Amazon workers are able to fight back in Europe.
yeah. Absolutely. This is crossing the line. They're watching your social media. They're tracking, your private Instagram accounts. They're doing everything. They're going above and beyond of what an employer should be doing overall. Your employer should be you clock in, you clock out. You go about your life. But instead, they're invading your privacy. So some degree, they're once again tracking your social media, seeing who you're talking to. trying to block certain information from getting to you. And people wonder why you see these propaganda commercials all over the place. It's because that's what they're meant to do. They're meant to target you, brainwash you to the point where people actually feel like they need Amazon. And that's what we're dealing with in the 21st century. But as you can see, this company is way too powerful, and they're controlling the market, and it needs to be demonopolized. This is what happens when you don't demonopolize these type of corporations.
And why do you think it is that Europe and the European government seems to be going at Amazon, whereas the United States, or as I call it, United Corporations of America, I mean, nothing. You have these show hearings with Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos and the Twitter CEO, but there's not, as of now, there doesn't seem to be any teeth underneath it to actually go after Amazon. Not just for the fact that they've done illegal things as a monopoly, like stealing other companies' intellectual property and ideas and software, and data. But now, I mean, basically tracking not only its own workers but outside organizations. Why does the United States government just look the other way?
Good question. Good question. You know why? Because they got their money in their back pockets as well. That's what it is, corporate ties. In UK, at least I can say they're unionized as well. Their Amazon facilities over there are unionized. Over here, I think it's about 300 facilities, fulfillment centers across the nation. They're not unionized. None of them. Not one of them. And this is the difference between being protected and unprotected. We're unprotected as essential workers. And that's a shame for us to be a necessity and be deemed as essential workers. And we're supposed to be the lifeline of the whole pandemic right now because we're on the front lines. We're delivering packages. We're delivering essential needs. But we're not being treated as essential workers. We're unprotected. We're getting fired. We're being exploited. We're living paycheck to paycheck. We have no Medicare that is going to be covering all our medical expenses, especially for those with underlying health conditions. And in the UK, they are unionized. And if you're not leading up to their demands, then they will strike back. They will shut down their facilities. They will take it all the way up to the courts, and they fine the company. They hold them accountable. We don't do that over here.
And, it seems to me also, it's not just that they're surveilling employees, but they're also trying to squash even the most minor political dissent. Shama Sawant out in Seattle, she's been like one of the few politicians out in front trying to tax Amazon. And now, after Amazon spent $1 million on trying to get rid of her in the last Seattle city council race. I mean, $1 million is a hell of a lot of money for a local city council race. Now, all of a sudden, she's facing a recall petition to recall her as a city councilman. I tend to think Amazon is behind that. So it's kind of like their tentacles is not just in surveilling their own employees,
Absolutely.
firing and scapegoating you when you were just trying to get safe conditions during a pandemic. Now they lost democratically. They couldn't get rid of her in Seattle by spending over $1 million. Now they're trying to recall her.
Yeah, that's exactly why we're heading out there. Indirectly, I don't want to say it over here, but because they are watching her. And I know that for sure. And I just want to say that workers do stand in solidarity with that bill. And anybody in Seattle should support that bill. We need that bill. That bill is a catalyst for what we should be doing nationwide. Give Joe Biden and Kamala Harris some thought on what type of what tax wealth that they should implement on the wealthiest. Yeah. Another thing that we have to think about is Jeff Bezos. After Joe Biden got elected, he reached out or he put something on Twitter to show congratulations. It's kind of like they're licking their chops, getting into the Democratic Party and getting into these politicians' back pockets. So we got to make sure we expose that, stand in solidarity with the bills for the taxing the wealth, and also make sure that we hold our elected officials accountable as well.
I want to read just a little bit of this. Hold on. So in Europe, Amazon, the documents, here we go. Amazon's approach of dealing with its own workforce, labor unions, and social and environmental movements as a threat has grave implications for its workers' privacy and ability to join labor unions and collectively bargain, not only in Europe, but should also be concerning to customers and workers in the United States. Amazon intelligence analysts appear to gather information on labor organizing and social movements to prevent any disruption to its order fulfillment operations. This new intelligence reports obtained by Motherboard reveal in detail how Amazon uses social media to track environmental activism and social media movements in Europe, including Greenpeace and Fridays for Future, environmental activist Greta Thunberg's global climate strike movement, and perceives such groups as a threat to its operations. The piece also went into the fact that they were basically monitoring how many meetings, labor meetings or union meetings, their workers. And this is the most rich part about it, because you got Jeff Bezos, he likes every now and then to create like a pre-K school for underprivileged kids, or like Amazon creates an initiative to fight climate change. But then they're turning around and basically surveilling real climate movements. I bet they're surveilling the Sunrise Movement too here in the United States, because the things that Jeff Bezos does is for show. His philanthropy for certain causes and groups is for show, but they are actually surveilling, i.e., suppressing real movements, because, frankly, Amazon is one of the biggest contributors to the climate crisis outside of the Pentagon.
Yeah, I mean, he just donated what $800 million last week. But once again, I want to go back to that point. Just the fact that they're surveilling these different movements. You was at the last action I did out there, and you covered the entire event, what we did in Beverly Hills. And what did we do? For the first time in probably a long time, or the first time ever, at least about what's going on in the last several months, we included the environmental movement. We had Extinction Rebellion out there. We had a social injustice. We had members from Black Lives Matter out there, teachers unions as well, and the labor movement. We combined all these movements, and they surveilled it. We went to Jeff Bezos' residence, and what happened? He sent out a drone and scrambled everybody's service so that we lost connection from the rest of the world as we were live streaming. So this is not a coincidence. This is exactly what they're doing. It's coming into fruition with these memos that are leaking.
I want to ask you, obviously, Joe Biden, everybody was a lot of people were holding their nose because Donald Trump. Well, now it's Joe Biden. And, the people he's appointing, I'm not asking you about people in particular, but, I mean, they're your cardboard cutout, Democratic Party, neoliberals, Wall Street's great, global trade is great. And they take a hell of a lot of money from Amazon, Jeff Bezos, Silicon Valley. And frankly, this whole build in America, build back better, there's not really much talk about monopoly. There's not really much talk. They give lip service to small business, but they don't actually focus on the fact that Amazon, through many borderline illegal or illegal practices, is putting small businesses out of business. And they don't, I hear no talk about the fact that, I mean, you might know the exact number, but you're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of Amazon workers had COVID because the richest man in the world didn't provide basic PPP quick enough. So are you seeing anything from the incoming administration that makes you think there might be some more adversarial approaches to Jeff Bezos and Amazon?
No, no, I haven't. And I don't expect it. Like you said, I don't expect them to sever their ties from their corporate donors. It is what it is. This is a corporation. And the right candidates are not talking about it. I mean, they're the ones that making the decisions, like Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. This is the administration now. They need to be the ones that's speaking up on the things that Bernie Sanders and AOC does. They sit there and they go through the numbers. They know what Amazon is doing. They tweet it from here, here and there. You'll see their tweets. They know what's going on with the essential workers and Amazon employees and Jeff Bezos, but they're not the ones that can make the decisions, you know? So once again, we got to hold them accountable on day one. You know, we can't allow another 4 years of what's been going on. So I'm hoping that once again, the actions that we're doing, the demonstrations that we're doing, the labor movement, the environmental, social injustice movement don't give up. Continue fighting out here in these streets and hold these elected officials once again accountable for
And
their actions.
everybody smash the like button. More people that press the like button, the more people that will see this live stream. I want to read one more part because this is some like dystopian early 20th century kind of stuff. But they were using the Pinkertons, which is like a notorious spying agency that spied on and helped, frankly, kill labor unions, labor strikers, particularly coal strikers in the early 20th century in America. So in the report from November 2019, however, an analyst wrote that Amazon hired Pinkerton spies who were inserted into a warehouse in Warklaw, Poland, sorry if I'm mispronouncing, to investigate an allegation that management coached job candidates on how to complete job interviews and possibly even conducted the process for them. The Pinkerton spies were posted in a Warklaw warehouse known as WRO1, operated by the Amazon contractor Adecco. To investigate the allegation, according to the Amazon report, Pinkerton operatives were inserted into WRO1 Adecco between November 19th, 2019 and November 21st. No identifiable evidence of coaching on behalf of the agency recruiters were observed. The report refers to the Pinkerton Detective Agency, which in the late 19th century and early 20th centuries supplied detectives to infiltrate unions and hired violent goon squads to intimidate workers from engaging in union activity. So that brings me to, listen, it's going to be hard. It's not going to happen overnight. But let's say, you know, we're headed to a COVID depression, unfortunately. The economy is in shambles. It's only going to get worse. And let's say you really have kind of, maybe it won't right away be a general strike, but you have a lot more people that want to participate in economic strike, economic boycotts, try to join labor unions. Well, from the sounds of it, I don't know if you would be able to know how many of those people are actually pure unemployed workers versus Amazon moles. I mean, I'm not trying to be dramatic, but how do you know? It seems like Amazon, like we've seen at the Standing Rock protests and other, they are trying to infiltrate labor unions, environmental groups, and whatnot to sow dissent or at least get intel.
Man, I can tell you, we don't know. That is the scariest thing. You don't know. I advise everybody that is a activist or a leader of this movement, start your vetting process, tighten it up right now, because that's the best that we can do. I already had several situations where I thought that somebody worked for the company. They even spied on Zoom calls. They go to the extreme. You never know. So all I can say is we have to just continue to tighten our circle up. Make sure that we vet everybody that we allow into our organizations or our unions. Vet them out to your fullest extent. We have to fight power with power. That's what we have to do.
Can you kind of talk?
So as
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was going to say, so as they infiltrate, we have to do the same thing. We have to tell people to go work for Amazon to try to unionize it. So that's how we fight power with power.
And can you kind of talk about you filed a lawsuit against the company? It's being slow walked right now, but obviously Amazon has been making bank during this pandemic while its workers have been devastated. As far as I know, they reduced hazard pay as soon as they can from the people that you still know that are working at Amazon. Has Amazon spooked people into not talking to you yet? Or if you are still speaking with people, what are the conditions that you're hearing about still at Amazon warehouses around the country?
Oh, yeah. I'm grateful because they haven't spooked people. They actually motivated people, encouraged people to come speak to me now. Just by what's been going on in the articles. They did take away the hazard pay back in June. They've been stopped the unlimited paid time off. So now you have people that have to be forced to either quit or forced to go to work and possibly contract this virus. And you're now seeing people afraid about their future and their families, their safety, their livelihood. It's still going on. There's still people in that very same facility that are contracting this virus. I hear the horror stories. People still reach out to me daily, nationwide. And I'm just happy to have this platform still to uplift their stories, because that's exactly what we do when we go protest and we do these demonstrations. We're telling the stories of these workers that are afraid to speak up, are those who have underlying health conditions that are at home right now. And if you hear about Amazon hiring 175,000 people, or whatever amount of people they're going to hire over the holidays, it's not a good thing. These facilities are breeding grounds for COVID-19. I can tell you that right away. And the people that they're hiring are replacements for the vets that's been there for 2, 3, 4, 5 years that are quitting right now. They're quitting because they can't deal with the mental stress. They can't deal with the fact that this company failed to protect them, and they're seeing their coworkers get sick on a daily basis. So they don't know which way to turn. And you got to think the vast majority of the workforce is Black, brown, or indigenous, or immigrant. So that's why I filed the class action lawsuit, because once again, it's going to represent the class that the majority of the mass of Amazon's workforce. And yeah, it's never going to be Amazon versus Chris Smalls. It's going to be Amazon versus the people.
And what's going on? I know you guys are headed to Seattle. We spoke about Shama Sawant. What's going on in Seattle soon? What are you going to be doing?
Absolutely, yeah. We're going to give a different meaning to Black Friday this year. I felt it's necessary after all the protests we've been doing in Jeff Bezos' residence. We started in New York. We headed to D.C. We did Beverly Hills a few weeks ago. He has a home in Seattle, Medina, Seattle, I believe. So we're going to hit him at the headquarters, and we're going to also visit his residence again. And once again, we're going to combine the labor movement, the social injustice movement, the environmental movement, and you're going to hear stories from Amazon workers at these actions. So, and we're also absolutely going to stand in solidarity with Shama. So we have multiple reasons to be going up there. And I'm just looking forward to this because once again, we're going to give a different meaning to Black Friday this year. Boycott the company. Yeah, boycott the company. Cancel your Prime. Stand in solidarity with the workers until they take care of us.
And I'd love to know your thoughts, because I've been telling my audience, like, listen, I've been around the country the last few years. I'm not saying protest is not a good thing. It's a great thing. And, I'm a white dude. I'm not going to tell Black or brown people how to protest. With that said, I think we could all march around in the streets in circles for the next 10 years till we're blue in the face. But if there's not an economic attachment to that, if there's not an economic protest to go with the bodies on the street, the oligarchy will just wait you out. Oh yeah, let them march, whatever. The police will deal with it, and the media will make them look like radicals. So, as best as, how do people who are interested in this, in terms of how do I get involved in an economic strike or an economic boycott? Because to me, I think Jimmy Dore said it. I agree with him. If we had a collective boycott of Amazon, even for a week, you'll start seeing change, because Jeff Bezos does not want those quarterly profits to go down one iota. It's a slippery slope to Jeff Bezos, and if there's any success, that could open up Pandora's box to them. So they see any economic harm to them as a risk to the entire company and the future. How can people get involved? Because I truly believe you're not going to move Joe Biden left or any politician left unless you threaten their donors. I don't mean violently. I mean threaten their profits. How do people get involved? A general strike doesn't happen overnight. But on the local level, how do people get involved in trying to leverage their wallets?
Absolutely. Join the Congress of Essential Workers. That's what this organization is for. TCOEW, the Congress of Essential Workers.org. We have a website. We have tools that will absolutely give Amazon workers the tools necessary to unionize their building right now. But we need more than that. We need customers to cancel their Prime, join us in solidarity, and also join us with these demonstrations. I know it's not about protesting. That's one aspect of it. But yes, we need to, once again, Amazon's biggest fear is losing their customers, losing their revenue. So we need to change that narrative. Look how far we've done or came in the last several months. We gained support. We're not heading the opposite direction. The more we keep doing these actions, every time we do these demonstrations, we gain more support. We gain, even if it's 1,000 people more. Our petitions are growing. We have a petition out there. We have things circulating. People are getting the information that they don't get the main media, like you mentioned. The media is going to portray one narrative, but we have our own narrative. So while we do these demonstrations, we need your type of media to come out there and cover stories, because that's the truth. That's the truth coming from the inside up. And once we get to enough collective power, we'll have more power than Congress. Like you mentioned, 600,000 employees nationwide for Amazon. Imagine TCOEW had 600,000 Amazon workers nationwide. We have more power than Congress. So when Congress is saying you're an essential worker, you go to work, we're going to say, hell no, we're not going to work until we get $30 minimum wage, Medicare, childcare, healthcare, PPE provided by the company at all times, financial relief for the families that lost a loved one, and a wealth tax on all the billionaires in the country from 1% to 3%, and have this generational wealth be distributed to the communities that we come from. Then we'll go to work for you in the middle of the pandemic. So once again, my leverage is work is power. Or if Jeff Bezos don't want to sit at the table with me, I'm going to be like, hey, we're going to unionize on you. Pick your poison. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just trying to build this momentum up, get as much support as we can, continue doing these demonstrations. And I feel gradually we'll get to a point where we'll be able to unionize on them.
Thank you, Christian. Where can people find out more?
Yeah, on Twitter at @shut_down Amazon. No surprise there. At TCOEW on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as well. Please follow us. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, man. I'll be in touch.
Absolutely, brother.
So that was Christian Smalls. Sorry about at the end. I'll tell you, never a dull moment trying to frame a Skype interview. It seems to always go out of frame at some point. So we'll fix that in the post editing and post that interview in full. But I think it's so important, and I'm also going to try to reach out to Shama Sawant. If you don't know, Shama Sawant, the socialist Seattle city council member who has been on the front lines as the leading politician, her and Bernie Sanders. She's been on the front lines going after Jeff Bezos, going after Amazon, demanding that they pay taxes in Seattle, demanding that they improve their working conditions, demanding that Amazon no longer dominate the city of Seattle and basically run the place. Amazon spent over $1 million. Over $1 million they spent to try and get rid of her in the last city council. They lost. And now, frankly, I think it's pretty obvious. They are behind trying to recall her. So they lost democratically. They couldn't get rid of her pouring money against her. Now they're trying to recall her for bogus reasons. So I'm going to try and interview Shama Sawant this week. But definitely, we will continue to cover Christian Smalls and what he's doing against Amazon, because I don't think CNN's going to cover it. I don't think MSNBC is going to cover it. Don't think the New York Times, the Washington Post, owned by Jeff Bezos, don't think they're going to be on the front lines covering it. But this, more than trying to move Joe Biden left and, progressive groups trying to move Democratic Party left, this has a greater impact on actually getting progressive change. You hit the donors where it hurts in their wallets, then the donors go to their employees, i.e. the politicians, and they say, yeah, you got to give them X, Y, and Z because we can't afford to lose this money. That's how real change is going to come. So I appreciate Christian Smalls talking. Got a couple more stories to cover, including, Elizabeth Warren. It gives me no it gives me no pleasure. Gives me no pleasure to journalistically have to go after Elizabeth Warren, but I will. And Obama we got some things to talk about Obama today. He's doing his little book tour here and rewriting history. So we'll talk about Obama. But I do want to give Status Coup viewers, by the way, we got 415 people watching. 324 of you have pressed the like button. Please smash that like button. Thumbs up right under the video. The more people that press like, the more people that will see this. We want to get this up as much as possible. Also give you an update. Holy cow. We are now just less than 500. You heard me. Less than 500 subscribers to go till we hit 100,000 subscribers. Can it happen today? We'll see. We'll see. But if you haven't subscribed to Status Coup, what are you doing? Press that subscribe button. Spread the coup. Tell your friends. Tell your family. Tell your dogs. Tell your cats. Gerbils. Parrots. Whatever. Just press the subscribe button. We want to hit 100,000 as soon as we can and be quite the momentous event when we do. So give you an update on Jen, Status Coup co-founder. Her last time I talked to her, you know, she's been kind of in and out of sleep. She had about 100 fever, so a little bit higher fever than she had yesterday when she had about 99.5, I believe, or 99.5. So her fever's up to 100, so it is rising. She took an at-home test today for COVID because the location that she was told would be open today ran out of tests. So now they're telling her to go to get a test. It will be Wednesday. So she did take an at-home test. Apparently, there's more access to at-home coronavirus tests now. I reached out to her to see what does it say as far as when she'll get a result. I haven't heard back from her yet because she's sick. So she does have fever. She does have a fever. She still has kind of chills, aches of that fever. She doesn't really know whether it's more anxiety and panic, but she was at one point kind of feeling like a little breathing thing, but it's not to the point where it's like very obvious breathing problems. But she was at one point feeling a bit of a breathing thing, but that could be related to just anxiety, panic, which affects your breath. But right now, she definitely has a fever. It is going up. When I had COVID, I think my fever went up to like 101.5 at one point. You know, I told her that, you know, she's worried and she's anxious, understandably, when you have, because she doesn't have confirmation yet that she has COVID. But I told her, you know, at this point, I would go under the assumption you do have it. I think the best things you could do is rest. I think the best things you could do is drink a lot of hot fluids. That's what I did. And, you know, try your best to simply be instead of thinking. Because thinking and being panicked is only going to actually affect your physical health worse. It's easier said than done, but hopefully, you know, the less you're thinking about it and panicking, the less things are going to skyrocket even worse in terms of physical. She is young. She is healthy. Even though young, healthy people have also, unfortunately, died, the odds are she's going to be okay. So I told her, you know, rest as much as you can, drink hot fluids, watch TV, relax. So I don't have any other update other than she took the test today at home. I guess you send it out. I'll find out from her how quickly the results come, and she's planning on going, I believe, to the health department tomorrow to get a test. Hopefully, if they have them, because that's another thing. Whether you're where she is or where I am, people hospital, not just doctors and health centers are running out of tests like early in the morning. So it's not so easy unless you're like there when they open to get a test. But she's definitely panicked. She's obviously has 2 children, so that is in her mind. So definitely email to info@statuscoup.com if you want to send well wishes, if you have suggestions on things she could take. Jen did say to me it would make her, I'm not making this up, she said it would definitely help if you could support us. GoFundMe, Super Chat. We appreciate it. right now. Obviously, she's taking care and resting. So if you can chip in today, we'd appreciate it. We are also trying to grow our membership. So if you're not a Status Coup member yet, statuscoup.com/join. That's statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 a month. And I will update you as soon as I get an update from Jen. So right now, basically we're going on the assumption she has coronavirus, hasn't gotten the test. And I'll also say, which shows you just how little this administration gives a damn about American citizens, journalists, whoever. If she has coronavirus, odds are she got it from that cockamamie conspiracy lunatic hour and 45-minute press conference held on Thursday by Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, who now I guess Trump's campaign is thrown under the bus. They're no longer down with the QAnon cookie female lawyer. And the Trump campaign did no contact tracing. They did no calling to alert journalists that Andrew Giuliani, who was at the press conference, had COVID. So they don't even have the basic respect to inform the people at that press conference that they were exposed to coronavirus. So that tells you who we're dealing with here. So everybody send Jen well wishes. Thank you for the super chat. Nate Dog won $5. Jordan, have you talked about Assange lately? The MSM has hardly covered it, and it's so important for journalism as a whole. Love you and Assange. Yes, I have. I just interviewed, I think, a week ago, Kevin Gottstola from Shadowproof, who was covering the Assange extradition trial. He wasn't there in UK, but he was waking up, I think at 4 a.m. here in the United States to cover that for weeks. So I interviewed him twice recently on the Assange trial. As of right now, there's, well, you're actually, that's not true. I can cover Christine Assange, Julian Assange's mother, tweeted out that there is a COVID breakout in Belmarsh Prison, where Julian Assange is. So I don't know if Julian Assange has been tested. I don't know if they are separating prisoners from where the breakout is. My assumption is they're not. So I will look into that. But Julian Assange's mother did tweet out that there was a breakout in the prison that he's staying in the United Kingdom. So yes, we have covered Julian Assange here. Keep those super chats coming. Keep those GoFundMe donations coming. Let me move on. Should I start with Obama or Elizabeth Warren? Let's start with Elizabeth Warren. So I'm not going to get into Biden naming Janet Yellen as Treasury Secretary, like who Janet Yellen is. I'd rather talk to someone who's an expert. So I've reached out to Dave Dayen from the American Prospect, who has really, really done amazing work on not just coronavirus, but who the people is looking at. The American Prospect has looked at who Biden's potential cabinet officials are. He is now naming Janet Yellen as his Treasury Secretary. Janet Yellen was the Federal Reserve Chair. I'm not going to lie to you, I don't know a lot about her, but from what I've read and heard, she's your traditional neoliberal thinker, so that's not good. But I will get into that more. But I want to get into, to me, the bigger point about Joe Biden naming Janet Yellen as Treasury Secretary. And it goes to what happens when people with progressive inclinations, like Elizabeth Warren, who I do believe, when she entered the Senate in 2012, really was progressive at heart. Elizabeth Warren, we heard it from progressive activists. We heard it from progressive think tanks. We heard it from Sunrise. We heard it from Justice Democrats. We heard it from a whole lot of people lobbying for Elizabeth Warren to be Treasury Secretary. I said, I think Krista Ball said, I think anyone with a brain said, I said, I don't think Elizabeth Warren's going to get a parking pass to the White House under a Joe Biden administration, much less Treasury Secretary. And this whole, selling out Bernie Sanders in 2016, then in 2020 again, all because somebody told you, I think she said Lawrence Summers or somebody back in the day told her, you have more power inside the room than outside the room. So you got to get inside the room to even begin to fight for your progressive legislation. Well, the question is, how do you get inside that room? How do you get inside that room? And I think Elizabeth Warren wrongly believed that, and somebody, when I tweeted this out, which I thought was kind of funny. Let me find it. E. Warren sold out Bernie Sanders twice in 4 years and hasn't even gotten a White House parking pass for it. I believe Elizabeth Warren truly believed that if I sit it out in 2016, if I sit it out in 2020, and in 2020, her sitting it out, meaning not endorsing Bernie Sanders, was even more damaging. Because I think there is reason to believe that if Elizabeth Warren would have dropped out after she came in, I believe, third place in the New Hampshire primary, I think Bernie Sanders would have had a even bigger blowout in the Nevada caucus. I think Bernie Sanders would have not lost South Carolina by almost 30 points. And more important, Joe Biden loses a few of those states that he won on Super Tuesday, because the margin of Joe Biden defeating Bernie Sanders in several of those states was Elizabeth Warren's vote percentage. So, devil's advocate, woke Warren women could say, Jordan, Warren didn't owe Bernie anything. To that, I agree. It's not specifically that Warren owed Bernie. It's that if Warren wants to describe herself as a progressive, then you owe the progressive movement, you owe progressive, potentially future progressive legislation, progressive change, you owe it to them to do every single thing you can to actually push over the top the remaining progressive candidate. But Warren truly believed that if she played ball, if she sat it out again, if she stayed in through Super Tuesday, which I don't think was an accident, she knew after New Hampshire she had no chance. She knew after Nevada she had no chance. She knew after South Carolina she was done. She stayed in, I believe, to block Bernie Sanders. The reason I can't get in her head, was it the snake emojis, which is completely petty and ridiculous? Was it the fact that, Bernie had the gall to fight against the smears that he had said, I don't think a woman could ever beat Trump. But by her staying in, by her leaking to the media that Bernie said these things, that you can't beat Trump, it essentially handed the Democratic nomination to Joe Biden and Obama and the things he did, which I'm actually about to get into in a little bit. So why is this important? I'm not just poking at Elizabeth Warren and looking backwards for the hell of it. I think it tells a lesson about progressive politicians and progressive activists that become politicians. Because I truly believe, if you look back, I think when she became senator, she actually was more along the lines of an AOC, a Rashida Tlaib, an Ilhan Omar, a Ro Khanna, Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush. Not the same color, not the same experience, but true instincts, progressive instincts, not to play ball, so to speak. But I'm just a player in the game. But I think Washington corrupted her. And there's different levels of corruption. There's the, insider trading level corruption, using your roles in subcommittees or your roles as a congressman or a senator to have inside information and then buy stocks or dump your stocks. That's one level of corruption. And then there's just the corruption of the average Tuesday, which is, you know what? I'm going to be a player in the game. I'm going to sell out my principles to get ahead. And I think that's what she did, because she wrongly put aside the moral ramifications. She didn't understand how politics works. she had terrible political strategy. She believed that if she didn't endorse Bernie in 2016, she would have more power in a potential Hillary Clinton administration. And maybe Hillary Clinton would even appoint her to something. Can't prove a negative. Hillary Clinton didn't win. But I, again, think there was very little chance of Elizabeth Warren being appointed to anything. Why? Because Hillary Clinton and now Joe Biden aren't the ones that fundamentally make the decisions. We live in the United Corporations of America, folks. It's not Joe Biden. Yeah, Joe Biden's technically naming Anthony Blinken as Secretary of State. He's technically naming Janet Yellen as the Treasury Secretary. He's probably going to name Michelle Flournoy, woke imperialism, as Abby Martin told me, who is a defense contractor's dream as as defense secretary. Looks like he's going to name that neoliberal corporatist hack Heidi Heitkamp as agricultural secretary. So, yes, technically Biden is picking these people, but he's picking these people within the system and the prism of his donors, because he knows what Wall Street and special interests and donors will be happy with, and what the line is, and where you can't cross that line. So, same thing. Why did Barack Obama choose not to appoint Elizabeth Warren to be the head of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, even though she created it? That should have been her first red flag signal. It don't matter how much ball I play. I'm never going to get appointed anything real. I'm never going to actually be. Maybe one day I'll get inside the room. Whatever I say will go in one ear, out the other. Why? Because Wall Street would revolt. And these politicians listen to Wall Street, Warren. They don't listen to grassroots people. They don't listen to you. They listen to the bourgeoisie. They listen to the oligarchy. And share this live stream. Subscribe to this channel if you're new here. We're almost at 100,000 subscribers. I would love to hit that today. So, this is a lesson, I think. Not that I'm seeing Warren vibes here, but I think this is a lesson for AOC. I think this is a lesson for Rashida Tlaib. I think it's a lesson for Ilhan Omar. I think it's a lesson for Pramila Jayapal, Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman. And it's easy for YouTube hosts to say this. I think AOC is right when she says, you think it's corrupt? You have no idea until you get there. You think there's pressures on you to sell out? Wait till you get there. It is no joke. So I don't want to minimize the pressures these people are up against. But what I want to say is, don't think if you keep playing ball with, let's say, Nancy Pelosi, if you keep being diplomatic, if you refuse to speak out against her, if you make concessions where you won't primary or support a primary against a certain Democratic incumbent because Pelosi and the leadership has asked you not to. Don't think if you don't speak out, or if you do give them your vote on X, Y, and Z legislation because they give you the subtle or direct inclination that if you go my way on this, I'll let Medicare for All have a floor vote or something like this. Once you start making these mini compromises, because to be clear, you do have to compromise as an elected official, even a progressive one. You do have to compromise. Compromise isn't a dirty word, but there's compromising strategically, and then there's selling your soul for nothing. Don't think, like Elizabeth Warren, that if you start making these mini deals with the devil, if you start basically selling, and when I say selling your soul, it is selling your soul. It was a clear choice in 2016. Bernie, Hillary. She sat it out. It's a clear choice when you clearly have no way of winning. When you've come in third place in New Hampshire, which is the backyard of Massachusetts, that you stay in, you are selling your soul. You know full well that Biden, Obama, the entire neoliberal plutocracy wants you to stay in because your votes keep Bernie from winning these states. That's what happened in many of the Super Tuesday states. So she made a deliberate decision thinking, and I'm sure she The New York Times reported that during her campaign, in addition to the selfies with everyone, she was going around the country drinking hot tea with a who's who of the Democratic Party establishment on the local level and on the state level. But the thing is, when you do that, when you make decisions, either not endorsing or endorsing certain things, thinking that they will finally pay you back later, what you're not realizing is it doesn't even matter if they pay you back later. Whoever told you being inside the room is better than being outside the room is wrong. For argument's sake, if Elizabeth Warren sold out Bernie in 2016 and was then named, let's say she was made the head of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau under President Hillary Clinton, did Warren actually think she'd have power to fundamentally change the rules of the road on Wall Street regulation? Let's say, for the heck of it, Joe Biden was naming Elizabeth Warren as Treasury Secretary. Does she think she'd have the same powers that Steve Mnuchin has had as Donald Trump's Secretary of the Treasury? Because Steve Mnuchin has a hell of a lot of power as a Treasury Secretary, because Trump doesn't know what he's doing, so he offsets it to competent Republican Neanderthals like Steve Mnuchin. Does Elizabeth Warren truly believe just being in the room would have actually given her the teeth to bite into Wall Street? No, because the system is corrupt. It doesn't matter if you're inside the room, if the room is tilted in a way that it doesn't allow somebody like you to fundamentally change the rules. So, to me, I'm not going to lie, I do enjoy saying I told you so to Elizabeth Warren, but it fundamentally, she deserves not getting Treasury Secretary. Maybe she'll get something smaller. I don't know. And I think if she gets something smaller, very, very likely it's going to be symbolic. Very, very likely it's going to have no teeth. Very, very likely it's a gesture. So fundamentally, if you're Elizabeth Warren, or if you're somebody, an up-and-coming progressive, maybe a Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush, even state and local level progressives, you got to ask yourself, what if my goal is progressive change? If my goal is much, much tighter regulations on Wall Street, and people like Jeff Bezos, by the way, if my goal is finally giving workers a seat at the table, what has a better chance of working? Sticking with my principles, strategically endorsing and putting the power of my grassroots supporters, because she did have grassroots support, behind Bernie in 2016, or Bernie in 2020 when he was very close to clinching the nomination. And then, if Elizabeth Warren, by the way, let me tell you something, and I have sources inside Bernie's campaign. If Elizabeth Warren would have said to Bernie Sanders after New Hampshire, I'll drop out right now, what do you think about me as vice president or me as Treasury Secretary? I think she would have got it. It might have pissed off progressives or diehard burners, but if Bernie Sanders was smart, he would have done that. Frankly, Bernie Sanders should have tried to get her to drop out and tried to play a little politics to get her to drop out. Because I'm telling you, it would have helped neutralize the whole corporate brigade of Pete Buttigieg and Amy and Beto when they all dropped out and got on stage to prop up a politically lifeless Joe Biden between South Carolina and Super Tuesday. Probably would have helped Bernie if he could have neutralized that with Elizabeth Warren and maybe then Andrew Yang, Tulsi Gabbard. But Bernie didn't really attempt it. I do have sources that Bernie did speak with Elizabeth Warren multiple times about an endorsement, but he did not offer her vice president or treasury secretary, and he should have. And I wouldn't hold it against Elizabeth Warren to play politics in that regard and try to get something. But the point is, what legitimately has a greater chance of working? Is it moving aside and throwing your weight and your votes and your campaign strongly for the progressive that actually has a shot to win? In 2020, Bernie had a shot to win. He was heading into South Carolina with the wind behind his sails, or the sail behind his winds. She did nothing. She honestly could have helped Bernie go over the top. This isn't to excuse Bernie, who made a whole lot of mistakes. But she could have helped Bernie go over the top. She selfishly didn't because she was delusional into thinking, Joe Biden, the senator from MBNA, remember? Bought off by credit card companies, Wall Street, fossil fuel industry, big pharma, big real estate, all of them, was going to give somebody ranting against Wall Street a seat at the head of the table, much less the table. So I hope this is a lesson learned to future progressives. You shouldn't sell out your principles, period, because it's wrong. But beyond it being wrong, it's strategically and politically unwise. You will end up sitting at the kids' table as a loser while also losing the progressive street cred you once had. So, politically, R.I.P. Elizabeth Warren. I don't see her getting anything in Joe Biden's administration. I see her continuing to, maybe have a viral moment once in a while, ranting against Wall Street CEOs in congressional hearings. And she'll probably be primaried when she's up again in 2024. I think she'd be up for Senate. And I will support her primary challenger in Massachusetts, that's for sure. So, lesson learned. All right, got 540 people watching. Remember, press that like button. Share this live stream. The more people that press like, the more people that will see this live stream. Remember, if you are new here, please, please, please do me the honor. Press the subscribe button. We are so close, I could feel it, to 100,000 subscribers. We are now, what is that? 412 subscribers away from 100,000, which is a milestone for any channel. And we have worked hard. I wish Jen could be on camera, but obviously she's sick. So definitely press subscribe and tell your friends, spread the coup. Let's get us over that 100,000 mark as soon as possible. I also want to comment on President Rewrite History, a.k.a. President Obama. I don't really talk about Obama a lot because what's the point? He's gone. But he is doing his book tour now. What is it called? The Promised Land or some nonsense like that. And, I mean, the hypocrisy, the contradictions are thick. I haven't read the book. I don't really want to read the book. But I've seen some of his interviews. The things he says, and the media will never call him on any of this because they're too busy slobbering over Obama. They've been slobbering over him for over 2 decades now. But Obama literally is gaslighting people in these interviews, and very few people are even noticing to the degree of the stench. Let me play you this clip in particular that really, really riled me up. My bad. Hold on. My bad.
culture from by that kind of prophecy. Because ultimately you need votes, and that is a much more, in Mario Cuomo's terms, it's prose and not poetry, and so part of my challenge as president was campaigning in some high poetry, using a writer's sensibility to describe who we are, what we might be. But once you get to governing, and then I'm dealing with Mitch McConnell and John Boehner and Ben Nelson and Robert Byrd, and sometimes progressives in particular overestimate the degree to which high rhetoric is going to actually move votes, because the country's different.
And what I wanted to add to that, and where I wanted to go from there, is young people. You said you were writing this book explicitly to younger people. So what is your diagnostic for the unfinished business that they have to take up as they move alongside us and as they come to lead us?
Well, I am so excited to see this generation coming up. If us old folks will just get out of the way, and that's true culturally. It's true in terms of our politics. I think their instincts are really good. It is second nature for them to believe that all people have intrinsic worth and dignity. It is second nature for them to not discriminate against people because their differences in race or gender identity or who they pray to, and they're sophisticated, they're smart, they're taking in culture from not just all across the cross.
Yeah, so I couldn't take any more of that, but you get the point. Gaslighting, gaslighting, gaslighting. And the most ironic part of all this, is when he says, old folks like us, we just got to get out of the way. Just get out of the way, old folks. Well, you didn't exactly feel that way when you meddled in the Democratic primary. And by the way, thank you for the GoFundMe donation. Alex, $20. Thank you so much, Alex. Keep it coming in the GoFundMe and the Super Chat. Appreciate all the donations. I know Jen does too. She's not feeling well, and she did say to me, tell people to donate. It would make her feel better. President Obama, literally, again, I don't want to spend too much time fixating on the Democratic primary, but these people are just full of shit. Excuse my French. Swear jar. Bernie Sanders was maybe 10 days away from clinching the Democratic nomination. So I know a lot of progressives are very dejected right now. But remember, this calendar year, a progressive was very close to actually becoming the Democratic nominee. And President Obama, after Joe Biden, frankly, whooped everybody's butt in South Carolina with the assistance of James Clyburn, he literally inserted himself, pressuring Pete Buttigieg to drop out of the race, pressuring Amy Klobuchar to drop out of the race. It's not easy to get either of them to drop out of the race. I'm pretty sure certain things were promised. It's being talked about and reported that Pete Buttigieg is one of the leading contenders to be VA secretary, which would be perfect for that empty vessel. My favorite would be if he becomes HUD secretary. As you know, he bulldozed 1,000 homes in 1,000 days, mostly in Black and Latino parts of South Bend. So he'd be perfect for housing and urban development, seeing what he did to South Bend. But Obama says, I trust the instincts of young people. Old folks need to get out of the way. Well, the instincts of young people, by and large, based on the data, was Bernie Sanders was the future. Might seem like an oxymoron considering he was 78, 79 when he was running, but the youth were behind Bernie because it's not about age to the youth. It's about policy. It's about what are you proposing? What do you stand for? And the youth that Obama says needs to be at the forefront and the old folks need to get out of the way, the youth was with Bernie. And Obama said to those youth, I know better. I know better. This isn't my opinion. Here, remind you from Politico. Some of Obama's aides now concede that behind the scenes, Obama played a role in nudging things in Biden's direction at the crucial moment when the Biden team was organizing former candidates to coalesce around Biden. Nudging is an understatement. Quote, I know he did a few things, said one longtime close advisor to Obama. He was talking to Biden regularly in that period. I don't know exactly what he said, but you could speculate. It's noteworthy that he called Klobuchar and the others right when they got out. Well, it was also reported that he called them to get out. A person with knowledge of Obama's conversation with Buttigieg after the former Indiana mayor exited the race explained it this way. Obama talked to Pete that night, the night that Pete dropped out. When Pete told Obama that he was 99.9% of the way there in terms of endorsing Biden, I would say that Obama was encouraging. But I would also say that Obama was very careful not to be seen as putting a thumb on the scale. He and the people close to him are very careful about the optics, the 2016 style optics. Sanders and his supporters had reason to believe the party put the thumb on the scale for Hillary in 2016, and he wanted to avoid that. Obama wasn't the driving force, but he was encouraging of people who had those instincts to rally around Biden. But he was very cautious and discreet in how he operated. No fucking way. I don't believe any of that for a second. Obama, he might have not called and said, you do as I say or there will be consequences. But when Obama is calling you as a candidate, when you're considering dropping out, he ain't calling to talk about the weather, folks. And Pete Buttigieg, he could read the political winds. He knows that Barack Obama is still the most popular politician, Democrat in America. He knows, well, Bernie's the most popular, but Obama, most popular Democrat. And Pete Buttigieg knows, wait, if I do this thing that Obama clearly wants me to do, Obama's going to be there for me if I run for Senate. Obama's going to be there for me if I run for the House. Obama's going to be there for me if I run for president again in 8 years. And having Obama support, fundraising, possibly email lists, possibly the DNC behind me, yeah, I'll get out. I'll stand on stage with a lifeless Joe Biden. Sure. Eric G, $21 in the super chat. Thank you very much. Amy Klobuchar, same thing. Didn't seem to me that Amy was in any hurry to drop out after South Carolina, even though she knew she had no chance. Her national profile was rising. It could help her in a variety of ways to stay in through Super Tuesday. She knew she wasn't going to win, but why not? She did have money coming into her after a stronger than expected finish in the Iowa caucus. Did fairly well in the New Hampshire primary. And all of a sudden, she drops out. And all of a sudden, within 3 days, it's not only that they endorsed Joe Biden. It's one thing to drop out and endorse him. They quickly got on stage together in Texas before Super Tuesday. That's not by coincidence, folks. That is a product. It doesn't even require Obama telling them to do it. Obama is indirectly and directly involved in all of it. Why? Because he doesn't give a damn what the young generation wants. He doesn't care that the young people were supporting Medicare for all, a Green New Deal, because Obama's whole spiel was the poetry of politics, oratory, making people feel tingly. Remember Chris Matthews, I have a tingle in my leg over Obama? Something, whatever he said. It wasn't actually that he cared about progressive policies. The guy bragged on his way out of the presidency that there's been more natural gas drilling under me than any other president. He's not a capital P progressive. He's a moderate to right winger, and he prides himself on being that way. Yet, if you look at who Biden is naming as Defense Secretary of State, Treasury Secretary, soon to be Defense Secretary, it's like an Obama class reunion. It's a bunch of people who worked in the Obama administration. We're having a third Obama term, basically, through Biden. So it's completely disingenuous for Obama to be sitting here. I think old people need to get away today. It's not about your age. Bernie was older than Obama. He does not believe that the old ideas should go away. He does not believe that the Democratic Leadership Council, that neoliberal politics, which basically comprises of market forces, Wall Street, globalization, he does not believe that those ideas should go away. He believes, I know better. Lawrence Summers knows better than the young people. And young people, keep that hopeful optimism, hope and change, all that good stuff. But, the adults in the room, we know better. That's who he really is. And that's who all of these people interviewing him are slobbering over. And that is the danger of woke politics. That is the danger of identity politics. Because all of these picks now, Michelle Flournoy, it's going to be lauded. She's going to be celebrating when she gets named as defense secretary because she's the first female defense secretary. All right, great. A vagina in control of imperialism instead of a penis. Seriously. Sorry to be crass, but that's the reality. I think Biden just chose as his director of national intelligence African-American woman who is another. From what I read, she was deeply, deeply involved in the United States surveillance state. But she's a black woman. Tony Blinken, Biden's pick for Secretary of State, was involved in a consultancy firm that was basically he worked for the Obama administration, Anthony Blinken. Then he set up with Michelle Flournoy a consulting firm that basically helped defense contractors get government contracts. But he's a new father, we're seeing tweets about. The first sitting a young parent, a Secretary of State. How cute. Barack Obama, was he as bad as Trump? No. But should he be celebrated as some progressive champion? No. He should be put into the historical context. First black president, all of that. Great. We could all be happy about that part. But he don't give a damn about young people. His policies didn't give a damn about young people. His rhetoric could say whatever it wants. But he was instrumental in basically eliminating the young people's vote for president, and that would be Bernie Sanders. So to Obama, I say, get over yourself and stop gaslighting America. All right. That's all I got for Warren Obama. Keep sharing this live stream. Let me take a few comments and concerns before I go. I hope to have more of an update on Jen tomorrow. I'm also going to be interviewing economist Richard Wolff tomorrow. Frankly, I think I interviewed him a few weeks ago, and things economically have gotten even worse. So I'll be interviewing Richard Wolff tomorrow. When you look at the cases in America right now, the average is over 150,000 cases a day. Deaths have fluctuated, but you've seen on some days close to 2,000 deaths a day. If you see the reports and the photos and the tweets going around where airports are packed, people are traveling against health guidelines for Thanksgiving, I think cases are going to explode after Thanksgiving. And unfortunately, that's going to lead to more death and also more businesses closing down, more economic shutdowns. So Richard Wolff is incredible. And I really want to ask him, we might not be seeing it now, but we are starting to see incredibly long lines in Texas and elsewhere for food. You're seeing homelessness expand. I just did an interview. We're going to air it tomorrow with a Native American in South Dakota. They have created a camp just for homeless Native Americans. So look out for that interview tomorrow. So I think Professor Wolf is the perfect person. Could we be headed to 1932 levels here? Because Trump and the Republicans are not going to give any last-minute stimulus in these last months before Biden takes office. And frankly, I don't hear anything from Biden about specifically what he's going to do. It doesn't sound like an FDR level stimulus, which is what we need. So we'll have Professor Wolf tomorrow. So let me read comments, questions, concerns. Keep those super chats coming. Really appreciate it. Oh, we got a new member. Welcome, new Status Coup member, Steven. Welcome to the Media Revolution, Steven. We're now at 1,540 Status Coup members, so keep it coming. Sign up, statuscoup.com, statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 a month. Makes a very, very big difference. Really appreciate all the new members we've been getting recently. And also, when you become a new member, you'll get access to our members-only Discord, as well as get to join our monthly members call. I was going to do it this week, but Jen is obviously sick, so we might have to wait till she's feeling a little better to do the members call. But keep signing up. Let me see what's going on here. Richard Wolf is awesome. I agree. I have COVID right now, Jasper says. It's fucking brutal. I haven't had health insurance in over 15 years. I had to get a veterinarian friend to sneak me some meds. Jasper, if you feel up to it, please email me. info@statuscoup.com. That's info@statuscoup.com. Would love to talk to you, maybe even interview you. Sorry you're feeling really bad and sick. Maybe we could tell your story, Jasper. So email me, info@statuscoup.com. That's info@statuscoup.com. And I think what you're saying, Jasper, I don't think you're the only one. I can't imagine how many people have COVID right now without health insurance, without ability financially even to get over-the-counter things to feel better. A lot of people might have COVID and not know it because they're afraid to go get tested because it's not free for everybody. Take it from me. The last time I got a COVID test, I had to pay a $100 copay with health insurance, by the way. So I'm sorry you're not feeling well, Jasper. Please email me, info@statuscoup.com. And we will keep you in our thoughts. Jacqueline de Blue, 100 pounds across the pond. Cabinets is a slightly dated word for toilets in French. Perfect for Biden's own. That's my contribution for today. Also, my love and best wishes to Jen. Jacqueline, thank you for your support and wit. I appreciate the support and wit. You are amazing, as always. We really, you're helping us keep going. So thank you so much, Jacqueline. I hope you're well. And I will send your well wishes to Jen. How long before Biden is replaced by Harris this year? Well, I mean, I'm not going to start, putting Vegas odds, but hey, I haven't hid my observations about Biden. And, as much as the media tried to hide his clear cognitive issues, as president, when you're in the spotlight every day, I don't think they're going to be able to shield Joe Biden as much in terms of clearly not operating at optimal strength cognitively. But who knows? I do think Harris will replace him at some point in the next 4 years. That I do think. People are literally dying in the streets in U.S. cities. Totally. I agree. That's why we're covering both, the fight against Amazon, the fact that we are currently in an economic depression. The numbers might not say so, but that's how many people are experiencing it. You look at the food lines in Texas, you look at the lines in South Dakota right now and other states, and nothing coming from the federal government. I blame both the Republicans and the Democrats. Democrats could say, the Republicans' offers are inadequate, but Republicans, Democrats got up to an offer of $1.8 trillion, and they said no. Was $1.8 trillion enough? No. Is it better than nothing? Absolutely. And Pelosi played politics, and she wouldn't take it. Shame on her. she gets to eat her gourmet ice cream while people wait in hour lines for food in Texas and elsewhere. And she seamlessly gets reelected as Speaker of the House. People will die more from homelessness and starvation if Alzheimer's and the gargoyle actually get in. Oh, boy. Anat, my wife says, Jaguar, do you happen to be a Seinfeld fan? You might get why I'm asking if you are. Don't get the reference, but I do love Seinfeld. Dems absolutely are also to blame. 100%. 100%. And by the way, if I was Joe Biden and I actually wanted to be like FDR, you remember all those stories in the New York Times and elsewhere saying that, Biden might govern like an FDR in this crisis we're in. I'd be coming out right now and saying, this is my plan. We're going to give $2,000 a month to every American until there's a vaccine, and that vaccine is widely being distributed, and cases plummet. We're also going to cover payrolls for small businesses so small businesses don't go out of business. There's nothing stopping him from saying that right now, but his donors. He's not going to say that because he's not going to propose that because we live in the United Corporations of America. My best guess is you'll get another Obama-type stimulus from 2009 and 2010. Maybe it'll be $1.5 to $2 trillion. It'll be a mix of tax cuts and tax credits and job retraining and all these things rather than direct stimulus, rather than UBI, rather than expanded health care. It'll be a lot of market neoliberal crumbs when we need a money cannon. That's what we need. We need a money cannon right now for working people, for black people, for brown people, indigenous people. All three have been disproportionately affected and harmed by this pandemic. But so far, he's not signaling any of that, particularly through this Treasury Secretary pick of Janet Yellen. Let's see. Make greed illegal. Lock them up. If only. If only. But, as always, Status Coup will continue to put a spotlight on the greed, on the United Corporations of America. We will continue to call them out, both the Republicans and the Democrats, because in an actual country, in a civilized country, when people are hungry, when people have no health care, when people have no jobs, when people are literally, afraid to stop working for their health, the government should be the first and last resort. We're in extraordinary times, and both the Republicans and Democrats have essentially left people to fend for themselves. That's the kind of country you're living in. It's completely unacceptable, and we got to call it out. And by the way, I'm not delusional. I don't think we're moving Joe Biden left, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't be calling it out and actively working to put pressure on the donors, which is what I talked about with Christian Smalls earlier. And we'll turn that around and post that for people who missed it for tomorrow morning. Thank you for the Super Chat, Steady Drummer, $4.99. I don't have COVID, but I work for a hospital in North Dakota. It's all around me. Hey, if you work for a hospital in North Dakota, I feel for you, man, because it's exploding in North Dakota. I just interviewed Standing Rock Sioux Tribe member LaDonna Braveville Allard. That interview is up on the channel. And she's lost 9 relatives in North Dakota from COVID. It's just heartbreaking what's going on. And it didn't need to be this way. If those governors would have just listened to science, listened to common sense, shut down the economy, mass mandates, shut down business with relief, with economic relief, you would not have people dropping like flies in North Dakota and South Dakota. And I think North Dakota is literally leading the world right now in COVID cases. The world. But all because of a culture war over masks and making this into the latest truther movement. And so many people in North Dakota and South Dakota literally think it's a hoax, thanks to Trump and his minions and these cowards that are Republican governors all over the country. It's disgusting, it's criminal, and it's murderous. It's murderous. All right, folks. Thank you for watching. I'll be back at it tomorrow. Remember, join us, statuscoup.com/join, statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for Jen. I know it would make her feel a ton better to see a flood of new members. And also, when you sign up as a member, you'll get access to our Discord, our monthly members calls, and other behind-the-scenes videos. And please do us the favor of donating to our GoFundMe so we could keep building our resources to get out there and cover stories in the field. Thank you. Linda just donated $20 after Alex donated $20. So keep it coming in the GoFundMe, membership, all those good things. Thank you for watching. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.